Just like the British weather right now, we're changing temperature in this episode of the Great British Mickey Waffle. From hot park news to cool ideas for balmy evenings in Walt Disney World, we've got it all. Welcome to the Great British Mickey Waffle. I'm Peter, and joining me this time are Ben. Hello, Ben.
Hi, Peter. How are you?
I'm all right. Are you feeling any better?
Yes, feeling much better. Yeah, got over a bit of a cold, and even though now the weather's gone the opposite way, it's got colder. So,
Yes.
yep.
And hello, Claire.
Hi there. Is everyone okay?
Yeah, good. Good. Yeah, we're okay. What about you?
It's usual. It's nearly November. Well, it is November, and it's
Yep.
Jetting towards Christmas.
Ooh,
You said the C
said
word.
The C word.
Yeah.
The band word is banned. It's banned.
Talking of band, hello, John. How are you today?
Hello, Peter. Oh, I'm great. I'm full of the joys of November already.
Okay.
You know,
You've got that crisp autumn feeling, have you?
I've just got rid of all them pumpkins that we talked about last month, which was highly enjoyable.
Okay.
And I'm desperately trying not to make a comment about celebrating Guy Fawkes Night.
You're not going to throw. You're not going to throw a guy on a
last
bonfire.
month. I'm not. No, definitely not. No way. We won't go any further into that.
Yeah. Hello, Jill.
Hello.
How are you?
Pretty good. Freezer full of pumpkin soup with all those leftovers and getting ready for all the November stuff now. Parking. Parking is the thing to have on November. Not free parking.
For American...
I was going to say that. I could do with a bit of free parking.
Yeah.
It's always good, that.
Yeah.
It sounds like we're playing a game of Monopoly.
Yeah.
Halfway around the
For
board, and it's free parking.
Yeah.
For our non-British listeners, parking is a traditional autumn cake here in the UK.
And it's yummy.
Yeah. And it's lousy.
So I think cake might be pushing it slightly. I'm not sure it counts as cake. I think
Yeah.
I've never had it.
stoneware, paving slab.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's extremely heavy.
Officially sponsored by dentists. Yeah, dentists really love it because
So I think you
you'll be
can use
going
as
there
a
the following weeks.
required, yes.
Yeah.
Let's kick things off with the next instalment of Journey to a Century. Over to you, John.
The decade 2003 to 2013. In the words of Charles Dickens, or was it Gonzo from the Muppets? There were the best of times and there were the worst of times. It simply depended on which side of the Disney fence you were on. The fallout from the 9/11 atrocities hung over the tourist industry, and with the implications it saw for some challenging attendances in the Orlando theme parks. This meant for some bargains for visitors, and with flights and hotel rooms in great supply, prices were geared towards those who ventured to make the journey. By 2005, we even saw the introduction of the Disney Dining Plan as a way to encourage more people to stay on site. An ingenious idea. As mentioned in the previous decade, there was already unrest within the Disney board, and by October 2005, it saw the end of the Michael Eisner years and the installation of Bob Iger as CEO of the company, in order to bring unity and a collective strategic direction to all elements of the business in tough conditions. Aside from that, the planning from the past actually saw changes in park and resort development. 2003 saw Mission Space open to great acclaim in a fast-changing Epcot, although for many, the fact it replaced Horizons was enough of a reason to dislike it. The company celebrated the 75th anniversary of Mickey Mouse, whilst in the same month, Wishes made its debut as the magical, spectacular firework offering in Magic Kingdom, together with the opening of PhilaMagic, and Pop Century Resort opened its doors to guests for the first time, quickly followed in early 2004 by the resort and golf courses at Saratoga Springs, which gradually opened to much excitement and expectation throughout this decade. Park additions came thick and fast, with some notable rides added to garner interest and to continue to lure the tourists back to Florida, and to Walt Disney World in particular. Soarin' in Epcot opened in 2005, Everest in Animal Kingdom in 2006, which became the most expensive roller coaster in the world, and the top speed of 50 miles an hour made an immediate impression on guests. It was also the year of a million dreams, with a guest promotion that remains firmly imprinted in the memories of those who had the pleasure to experience the Disney magic at its finest. Possibly one of those dreams worthy of note was the removal in 2007 of the wand of the Spaceship Earth building, which had remained from the Millennium Celebration, and the ride itself being updated to the narration of Dame Judi Dench. Changes at MGM Studios, with Residential Street being demolished to accommodate Light's motor action, were just a precursor to the change of name in 2008, with no longer used studio soundstages being repurposed, and Disney choosing Hollywood Studios as a new brand without the MGM name. Soundstage 1 became home to Toy Story Midway Mania, and with California having their version unveiled just 3 weeks later in June 2008, instantly knowing it to be a crowd pleaser, Disney knew they had another family-friendly, surefire winner on their hands. But the developments were even wider than that, with Disneyland celebrating 50 years in 2005, as Hong Kong Disneyland also opened its gates. And all parks worldwide joined together in a happiest celebration on Earth. In Walt Disney World in particular, plans were afoot for rapid expansion, but that expansion came at a cost, as with the Main Street Electrical Parade returning as part of Summer Night-tastic in 2011, it inexplicably brought to an end Spectro Magic, the magnificent, unique Walt Disney World nighttime parade, which never returned, having been left open to the elements, and with parade floats that were in no condition to run the nighttime parade route ever again. This was possibly another sign that with all the talks of expansion and change, there were some serious deficiencies in the actual long-term planning of the parks division throughout this decade. Further afield, and the film part of the business started the decade off in global blockbusting style, with Pirates of the Caribbean and Pixar's Finding Nemo both grossing more than $300 million at the box office. The year after this, in 2004, after years of partnership, Disney acquired the Muppets and Bear in the Big Blue House for $75 million from the Jim Henson Company, whilst another Pixar film, The Incredibles, hit the big screen. Disney then produced their own 100% computer-generated film in Chicken Little. With the relationship with Pixar at the time becoming strained, this is possibly not the film that Disney fans were expecting, as a way of proving that they had the animation Imagineering talent available to compete with the pioneering Pixar. The Disney acquisition of Pixar was costly, at $7.4 billion, but was time limited, as they were within months of the original contract expiring, which seems somewhat unthinkable historically, but meant that Pixar actually held a lot of the cards in respect of corporate power, with Steve Jobs actually serving on the Disney board amongst the Pixar highlights. The films kept flowing thick and fast. Meet the Robinsons, Ratatouille, Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End then became the biggest grossing film of that year, but the influence of Pixar film releases were an experience to behold, with cinema goers equally awaiting and enjoying WALL-E, Up and Toy Story 3 in the years to 2010, where Disney Studios were offering Enchanted, Bolt, High School Musical 3, Tangled, and an interesting use of Jim Carrey in a remake of A Christmas Carol. Everything Pixar made seemed to turn to gold, and this probably brought for some frustration to the mixed reception for many Disney offerings at this time. Romeo and Juliet, through Touchstone Pictures, a follow-up to Tron, a new Muppet film, and another Pirates of the Caribbean film were leading the fight from the Disney side of things. As we get close to the end of this decade, there became a more shared approach from both Disney and Pixar, with a more collaborative approach seemingly the definitive way forward. And as Wreck-It Ralph hit our screens, who would know what cinematic phenomenon was about to let it go? On the small screen, High School Musical, Camp Rock, Hannah Montana, Handy Manny, and the unforgettable Phineas and Ferb became new features on the Disney TV channel. With the epic Mickey interactive video game a fan favourite for those who had bought the Nintendo Wii, with technology moving fast. As business decisions were also being made with the same speed. Marvel Entertainment being bought in 2009, a year in which we mourned the passing of Roy E. Disney. Miramax was sold for $660 million, along with the Power Rangers brand for $100 million. And in 2010, the acquisition of the Avatar rights and subsequent announcement of expansion at Animal Kingdom followed. And with 2 new cruise ships added to the Disney Cruise Line fleet, things were steaming ahead across all parts of the business. Aulani opened in Hawaii, signifying the ongoing success of the Disney Vacation Club, with Art of Animation in Orlando and with groundbreaking taking place on a new theme park in Shanghai, China. There was only just one thing that could overshadow all those. After many years of trying, some negotiation and possibly personal recognition by George Lucas that now was finally the time, and at a reputed cost of over $4 billion, the Star Wars franchise and that of Indiana Jones and the whole of Lucasfilm would be in the ownership of Disney. A decade of Disney that ends just as it began, with the unthinkable becoming a reality, and with a breathless rate of change necessary for companies to simply keep up with the relentless changes seen in our own personal lives, with technology taking a firmer hold on our consumption of media, and with the internet becoming an even more important part of daily life, with 3G, Wi-Fi and mobile phones becoming affordable and widely used. There certainly was no turning back now.
So, John, you did a lot of research for that, and you gave a great review, by the way. It was really good. What stands out for you?
I think it's probably the things that I missed out as well, Peter. I think that's the bit that what we need to remember is actually, I think for all of us, as we've talked about, each of the decades has been completely full of so much that's happened, and that particular decade. It was staggering because it was coming from all corners, and it was becoming, it started off badly with what happened with 9/11, but as a tourist trade was actually on its knees, you suddenly find you needed something else to, as we found before with the war and things like that, the company were desperately looking for ways of shoring up the finances. And it even got to the bit. I didn't mention it in the actual decade, but at one point Comcast came in with a takeover bid, a hostile takeover bid of $66 billion, and that it's even now it's unthinkable that someone could come in and actually, because the business side of things was not particularly good, because the boards weren't united, it became one of those things that people could actually, they'd maybe just start throwing in daft little bids just to see what would happen. But the money becomes incredible as you go from there, and we finish with like the Star Wars franchise being bought for $4 billion. having bought and bearing the big blue house and the Muppets run was only 75 million. It's crazy money. It's absolutely,
It's really weird when you hear just figures like that.
Yeah, and that's that for me is the bit that you can lose complete sense of it. But as it finishes off, the whole thing of how technology had changed so much. You think about how we were at a stage where it was unthinkable at the start of that decade to even think about having a mobile phone. By the end of it, most people were at the stage where a mobile phone was an affordable proposition. And we'll probably find the next decade of where that led us to. But absolutely incredible. It really is. Absolutely
Just
incredible.
imagine taking a phone without a camera into Magic Kingdom.
Goodness.
And you wouldn't have a selfie. It's just weird. It's
but even
weird to think.
Even
I
video
remember
as well.
taking
Isn't
a
it?
massive digital.
Yeah.
Taking a massive digital SLR with a 7300 lens and huge great bit. It's so heavy. And now better quality probably.
I know. That's
good quality
crazy,
from a phone.
Crazy to think
But
of.
it's-
Yeah, I know.
It's weird. Really
Good
weird.
enough quality from a phone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, it's
Claire.
exceptional quality from
Yeah.
a phone.
Indeed.
Yeah, definitely.
Claire, you probably went the most during this decade of all us here. What do you remember?
I'm trying to think what stands out for me because John, you extremely thorough with your.
I thought I was quite brief
review of
myself,
decade.
Claire. That's the edited,
You were
highlights of it
so
all.
much. It's the match of the day highlights. Do you know what? There's so much that went on, and I think there was some amazing strategic decisions made. There were some operational things that changed the future that we will find out about. We already know, but we'll find out about next time. And I think that when you the loss of Michael Eisner and the introduction of Bob Iger, when you read Bob Iger's autobiography, it's really interesting in terms of his experience as a new CEO. And really, it felt like there was sort of speculate to accumulate time. Nobody was travelling to the parks because of 9/11. It became this dearth of tourism. So something had to be built to attract people back. And it's very much like we see post-COVID, kind of. We thought we were going to see post-COVID. And I think that there was things happening to project for the future that, those acquisitions, the building of new attractions in the parks, or certainly laying the foundations for what would come in the future. And I think that things like the Muppets and Star Wars and what was going on, particularly with Pixar as a branch of the Disney company, whilst remaining still quite separate, became quite synonymous to the growth of that particular decade. And I think you can't underestimate the impact that the Pixar movement had. They had such a different approach. And some of those films, when you think like WALL-E, they're just enormously groundbreaking in terms of the emotional maturity of the theming. Every good Disney movie has a tragedy in it. Well, the loss of civilization and the earth being one, and horrific grief and loss and death in the other. These are not small themes to take on into an animated picture. So I think that those things really moved the whole company forwards on a trajectory that was fairly exponential.
This was our decade of our first trip.
Yeah.
What does that decade mean to you?
Oh, gosh. I remember hearing and seeing a lot about the Year of a Million Dreams when we were starting to do research for our trip. And, of course, by the time we got there in 2010, it was all over. But it was still a magical place. And it's really strange to think that some of those rides were pretty much brand new when we went, because it's kind of all set in my mind that this is how the parks are. I remember Tangled, because we actually saw Tangled in Downtown Disney.
In
as it was then,
AMC,
in AMC cinema. which was placed so big that each of the screens had its own zip code. And it was a very changeable decade, wasn't it? Lots of changes happening.
Yeah.
I have to say, Jill, when you said magical place, my brain immediately went to the Toys R Us advert.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I am this afternoon.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's the right time of year. We're in November. It can't be
We
long.
are, yes. When I first read that sign, I thought Jeffrey was a dinosaur and Toysaurus. Jeff is
Okay.
a giraffe.
It's definitely a giraffe.
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Toysaurus would actually make more
Toysaurus.
sense. There you go.
Ah.
It's how I
Like
first
a-
read it.
Like a rhinoceros.
Yes.
Just saying.
Ben, what does this decade mean to you?
Well, definitely not Toys R Us adverts.
It should do. That's the right decade. It's the right
I don't
period
know.
of
I
time.
would say late 90s, but yeah, I don't know. I do remember that advert, or like I can't think of that advert now without thinking about the Coca-Cola advert. It's like Christmas, holidays
It's
are coming.
Yeah, the holidays are coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So how many times have we said we need a swear jar? Because how many times have we said the C
I
word
think
at
so.
Christmas?
I think so.
far?
Yeah.
I think we're going to end up with a swear jar for all sorts of things. So I think mentioning
I don't care.
Christmas, but also I know that we've had some feedback from a listener around abbreviations. And the fact
Yes.
that we do that sometimes. So we're going to try really hard not to. And I said to Ben he should create a siren for when one of us uses an abbreviation, and we're going to have a total on the screen per person. As to how many times you're caught out.
Oh,
So,
Ooh,
listeners,
that's gonna be hard.
if you hear us using an abbreviation, please tell us, and we will correct ourselves.
And we'll let you know what the abbreviation actually stands for. Because I have to admit, there's a long list of them, and I still don't think I know. I might know all of them, but there might be a couple of them that will be unsure
That's it.
on.
So we're going to try really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's an article in the show about that somewhere. I'm
yes.
sure there must be, yes. So, Ben, Disney, that decade.
This
what
decade,
did you
so
think?
well, it's difficult for me. My main focus is the films, like you, Peter and Jill. You said about you not doing your trip till 2014,
2010.
2010. Sorry,
First trip.
It was more about the films and how that. All I heard from not watching every Disney film was that how many companies that Disney was acquiring. So how much all of these acquisitions that wasn't just working for the next film, but laying the groundwork for the following few years. So when you think of nowadays from Marvel, Star Wars, everything that they have, that they were doing with Pixar, it was something that I think that was quite interesting, because sometimes you think a company's going to buy someone and you think, what are they going to use that IP for? Is it going to be something that intellectual property is going to go into a park? Is it going to be something that they use for a film series? Because John, you mentioned about Avatar.
Yeah.
And when you think what they've used now from that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think as well, going with that, Ben, I think what's really interesting there is I actually think to begin with, some of it was luck rather than judgment. And I think they realised probably in the next decade just how they could actually exploit it even more within the parks. I won't give away next month's segment, but I think the Pixar bit was so last minute in being finalised. Pixar held every single bit of power, and actually I think they did very, very well for themselves in actually getting people on the board, but also the amount of money they were able to take out of Disney to actually become proper partners. You know, I think I alluded to it within the piece. Though is the fact that some of the films that Disney were making at that time were absolutely atrocious, and fans were telling them
Chicken
that.
Little.
Yeah. It was a big opportunity to show, we can make animated films again. We can do them better than anyone else. And people are looking at it and thinking, oh, by the way, you know that deal with Pixar, I think you probably need to get them to sign it before that runs out, because without it, who knows where Pixar could have ended up? Because they would have had the pick of any other big, massive recording company to go and take their product to. And what came after that, you could imagine if they went up the road to Universal, heaven forbid. But it could have happened. And the history of the theme parks, the history of so many of these films could be completely different. And that's what fascinates me. It has fascinated me through every single decade we've looked at, because there's been certain parts within the company's history where decisions in some ways were made by luck, but then they were the springboard for what we see now, or what we saw and what we've grown to love over the years. It's fascinating.
John, you mentioned it. Wasn't this the decade where Universal had all the reveal of Harry Potter? So when you think everything up the road, all the competition and everything from that, this was showing Disney like, okay, we can do this too.
They raised the bar.
Yeah.
They massively raised the bar and actually showed what could be done. If you go back to those original park building sort of routines of don't sit in an office and just dream it. Go and get it built. Go and put it out there. And I think they've kind of lost a little sight of that, because if you think of how quickly both Disneyland and Walt Disney World actually managed to get Toy Story Midway Mania put in there, was absolutely amazing, and it became part and parcel of it. Soaring, if anyone's never seen the Imagineering story of how the design of Soaring was made from Meccano, but so clever to actually have a ride vehicle where you can actually see people's feet and actually recognise that was just purely because that was the Meccano design. Absolutely brilliant, but it came into the park so quick, and I think that's certainly where Universal have still got that march on a lot of what Disney are producing.
Excellent. Well, thanks for that, guys. We've had an amazing journey through history with these episodes, and I can't believe that next time will be the last one bringing us up to the current day. That should be a really interesting one. Lots and lots and lots has happened.
Probably about an hour long, I think.
You said that last month about mine. You see, I absolutely, I was edited to the extreme. I would hasten to add, anyone who listened to that and thought, goodness, they were right, it was an epic. Wait until next.
And if anyone has listened to our first ever show, that was a lot shorter than John's first 4-part challenge.
Oh yeah. Too right.
I mentioned some hot park news, and the first item is definitely caused rejoicing amongst the Wafflers. From 9th of January 2024, if your Walt Disney World Park ticket includes park hopping, you'll no longer have to wait until 2 p.m. before you can enter the second park for the day.
Yay!
At last. It feels like it's
indeed.
Something that from a few years ago feels like it's just come back to the way. And it's just another thing off that list, isn't it? Of like what was before COVID, what was before the pandemic that we had in the parks. And it's just one of those things that even though not all of us, I think, used park hopping all the time, but it was a nice feature to have if you wanted to go for breakfast in Epcot and then spend the rest of the day in Magic Kingdom.
Yep.
This follows on top of not needing park reservations.
Yes.
So yes, Ben, it's like the old days.
Yay!
You don't know.
It's a bit more expensive than the old days, but
might get a paper pass just like the old days. Yeah.
Not that old, John.
So does this mean the 4-park challenge is back on?
Yes.
I think it never left. I just think it depends on as long as the parks were open late enough.
Yes.
But I don't know.
What you need to do is stay in a deluxe. Then that way you get late evening and you can do the 4-part challenge really easy. Mm-hmm. That's if you've got enough money to stay in a deluxe.
It depends on what you determine as a 4-part challenge, because I remember on our first episode some of us broke rules, some of us used a time machine to visit different...
Broke rules? Surely not.
But it's one of those things, it depends on what you set, because is it like a park, a snack, a ride, a show? You can make it as what you want as your 4-part challenge.
Yeah.
I think we need to revisit that.
Oh,
yes, I think so.
Jill.
Next year. Next year, the 4-park challenge returns. How about that?
The 3-hour show returns.
And then, aren't there some slight differences for annual pass holders with all the news that's going around?
Yeah, some of the news isn't quite welcome, if I'm honest, with pass holders because the prices have increased. So Disney do 4 Walt Disney World annual passes. So the Incredipass, Sorcerer Pass, Pirate Pass, and Pixie Dust Pass. So the ones that, if most people probably get from the UK, is the Incredipass, which has gone from $1,400 up to $1,450 for the year.
Wow.
So
Just some massive hikes, isn't there?
Yeah.
they've gone up by $50 or $30 if you go for the Sorcerer Pass, which is if you're a Florida resident or a Disney Vacation Club member. And Claire, I remember us talking the other day about the upgrade, because I remember in 2018 we would go out there with a 14-day ultimate ticket, go to the window, show them a Disney Vacation Club card, and upgrade to a Sorcerer Pass. It's a bit hit and miss if you want to do that now. You can do it.
I think you can if you're DVC.
Yep.
Because I went to in the summer, I went to guest relations at Disney Springs, that lovely air-conditioned building near Deluxe Burger, and had a very long conversation with the team there. And actually, the cast member who I was working with at the time, she was brilliant. And she went off and checked in the back, and they have, if you're not a DVC member, they actually have a cut-off date from which you needed to have bought your ticket before for it to be able to be upgraded.
So they can refund that and then charge that on top would be my guess, the difference in price.
So I couldn't do the upgrade, but I did subsequently buy an annual pass, and then they put the prices up, so that was quite a relief, really.
Good timing. Very good timing.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, we know Disney puts a price up every year, sometimes twice a year. We just don't. It just surprises us when it happens.
I think
So
it's trying
with
to
the
get a balance,
passes-
isn't it? Sorry, Jill, on you go.
Yeah. With the annual passes, will you need to make park reservations still?
Yes, from what I understand, you have to make and hold at the minute up to 5 theme park reservations on a rolling basis. But also, if you book stay on site, that's also included. So we've got our stay next week on an annual pass, and we can book 5. But because we're staying at a Disney resort, we can book all 7 at once.
Oh, cool.
Oh, that's cool. That's great.
So it is a bit flexible, and from what I understand, Disney have changed the park reservations a little bit for from the 9th of January for annual pass holders, where they've got good to go days, where the days where you won't need to book a reservation and you just go into any park that's available on that day.
And Ben, I'm right in thinking that as an annual pass holder, you don't need to make a park reservation if you plan on entering the park after 2:00.
The only thing on that at the minute is Magic Kingdom. Every other park is fine, but I think it's Magic Kingdom on a weekend.
At
or
weekends, isn't it?
Friday, Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay.
But other than that, you don't. If you're going in after 2:00, you don't need to make a reservation at all if you're an annual pass holder.
Yeah, that's right.
That's good.
Been trying to get to grips with the new rules.
Yeah, and
We're getting there.
the benefits of pass hold, it all depends on how many trips you have booked. As we've got Disney Vacation Club, our hotel sort of availability works on our sort of 11 months. So sometimes an annual pass works well. Sometimes we decide to skip a year. We won't renew, and we'll just go for a 14-day ultimate ticket. So, but it is interesting with all the price rises that Disney added last week that have made the UK ticket sound better value. Because for a 14-day ticket next year, it's £559 through Disney's website. But when you think if you break that down to what you get included, where if you had a US ticket, you don't have any of that included. So you don't have your memory maker, which has now gone up to $185. So, and that's if you do it before. It's actually $205 if you buy it on the day.
Right. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's
expensive.
a lot of it, as with a lot of things with Disney, you need a spreadsheet, you need to have a calculator, you need to work out what is going to work well for you.
Yeah.
And I believe parking prices are going up as well.
By $5, I think,
That's
for
quite
a standard
in
car.
a single. Yeah, I mean,
20.
I think it was already quite.
Yeah.
I mean, $25
20%
was already,
though, isn't it?
I think, Yeah, it's a fair heft.
Is this the cost for bringing the trams back?
The cost of the tram drivers?
Yeah.
Maybe so. I think that's quite a lot in one go, actually.
I agree.
I was surprised it went up that much. I thought it would be a couple of dollars, not 5.
Yeah.
And, if you're there 14 days, you add that onto every day of your... It's a huge... And that's where... Do your maths about an annual pass,
or staying on site, because then you don't have to worry about parking in the parks.
Yeah, this is it.
Yeah.
For us, if we go when we go next year, because we will, and we have a car and we stay, if we stay off site, then actually with my annual pass we won't pay for parking. But that would have been an additional cost. And yes, you save money by not staying on site, but actually
it's a big addition.
$5 a day. It's one of those things.
You have to do the number crunching. I think. Yeah. It's a lot.
Well, I was talking to a friend about this the other day.
Go up as well.
Yes, by another $5.
And what about,
I think it's $15 to $20 difference in
Claire's
price between. I haven't looked at valet, but
Claire's
because valet was $33.
Yeah. Oh,
so I suspect that valet will have gone up probably to 35, maybe 36, because that would be the same sort of rate.
Parking price increase. Here we go. Let's have a look. So $25 to $30 for a car or motorcycle. Standard parking increase gone up to $55.
So that would be if we put a $5 on the top of the preferred,
and it doesn't say anything about valet.
Okay, so valet's still 33.
It just says the price of an oversized vehicle, which has gone from $30 to $35. So it's interesting because nothing's actually changed at parking to warrant that extra $5. I understand.
Of course there isn't.
It's not like they've added more spaces or the spaces have got bigger. So it's nothing's changed like that, but it's still going to cost more.
So is this another thing to throw into the whole decision of, do you hire a car? Do you rely on Uber, Lyft, etc., and the Disney transport? Yeah. All these things are part of the number crunching, aren't they?
I'm so looking forward to coming back from this trip and letting everyone know what our car experience was like.
Yes.
Because this price has gone up. I would have been sort of, it's annoyed if we were staying off site and having to worry about an extra cost in this for parking.
Yeah. So, I think as well, Ben, and I think this is probably where, for anyone listening who's sort of scratching their head and thinking, oh my word, this is really adding on the cost of me holiday for next time. You actually just need to, in the bigger scheme of things, it's not sort of going to break the trip, and you're not going to turn around and go, I have to pay $5 more per day for parking. We're not going. Let's go to Filey instead. And so it gets to the stage where you basically have to suck it up. What it does do is maybe, as Claire's sort of alluding to with valet and etc., is actually there might be ways you can actually negate some of the cost of it by finding other ways to do it. But we'll wait and see, because I think that until you're caught up in it, you don't quite know the ways of getting around it. And I'm pretty sure they'll put the valet
and also treat yourself to an Uber, so you can go to the park, get at Epcot, and have a drink around the world. So there are benefits not to driving all the time.
Again, $30 for parking.
Yeah.
$15
Do the
each
maths.
way.
How much is a Great British slushie? Yeah.
No, but in terms of, if you were within a $15 Uber, and a lot of places around the south of Walt Disney World, around the 192, between $15 and $20 in an Uber. So you've got to do the number crunching. Is it worthwhile? Yes, you're going to spend more money when you're there, but it's certainly worth thinking about, rather than just sucking up the parking. Some days you want to, but
Are we getting to saturation point with these price rises now, or can Disney just go on indefinitely?
No, I think they're going indefinitely.
People will always go.
So whilst we all
moan about it, people will. We're always going to go. None of us. I don't think any of the 6 of us sitting. 5 of us sitting here. I was including Becca, obviously.
She's here in spirit.
Would say, it's too expensive, I'm never going back. We'd have a moan about it. We'll have a bitch about the prices.
We'll have a moan, but we will work our way around
We'll still all go back.
Whether we change something on the trip, whether we could decide to have one Starbucks a day instead of 2.
500,000 other people that are there every week. So no, I don't think they'll ever get to saturation point with the prices. Is my personal view.
Do you think it just changes how
Record.
you approach a trip? So I know we haven't mentioned it yet, but I know there's been a lot of increases across the board on foods, food, drink, and prefix menus. I know Chef Mickey's had quite a big increase in food price, so
Yeah, I won't be going there.
no.
There's a surprise.
Is it Disney wanting to get fewer people in the parks, or is it Disney just wanting more money? Which
Bottom line,
which is it?
Yeah.
It's one of those things. Also, food does cost more when you think just
It does, yeah.
general day shopping at the minute. Things are cost more. I know from a Disney perspective, they're buying things on bulk, on mass, so they're going to get a discount. But actually, sometimes you just have to pass that cost on to the customer, unfortunately.
Well, if all this news has made you feel like booking a trip, but wanting to ensure that you get the best value for your budget, we have some friends who might be able to help.
Planning a trip to Florida, planning a cruise, planning on just getting away anywhere in the world. Forward Travel are your first and only stop along the way, making moments into memories. Contact them through our website or through their Facebook and Instagram profile and tell them that the Great British Mickey Waffle sent you there. And may your next magical adventure begin.
Now that we've sorted out our tickets and parking, it's time to get into the parks. Hooray! And specifically to think about making most of our time there. So grab your glow-in-the-dark Mickey ears because it's going to be a fun night. When the sun goes down, Walt Disney World takes on a whole different atmosphere. The lights glimmer, the rides feel different, and we get some fantastic shows and parades. So guys, starting with Magic Kingdom, what makes After Dark at Disney so special for you?
It's the parades. It's the seasonal parades and the parties. You only get a nighttime parade now if you go to either the Halloween party or the Christmas party. But, oh my word, they are just wonderful. I love the Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party. I never get that name right, which is why in our house we just call it Doodad. But yeah, I just love it. It's just a wonderful evening.
Yeah, we've been 4 times now.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's great. Favourite part? Well, it's either the parade or Totally Tomorrowland Christmas. If you haven't seen Totally Tomorrowland Christmas, do it. It's great.
The atmosphere of the Christmas party is incredible. And
Yeah.
I haven't done the Halloween in a few years, which we're going to change for next time. But it's one of those things that just feels so nice just to go into a park and everyone's there for the same thing. And whether it's Halloween, you're there for candy, fireworks, the atmosphere just feels just more electric at night, especially because, as you mentioned, going around Tomorrowland. When you've got the Christmas party and it's just something that the atmosphere totally changes from day to night.
I would say that the Halloween party is fairly epic as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because, let's face it, Booty Parade is, without question, the best parade that Magic Kingdom does now.
Yeah.
Not counting previous parades.
You're being careful
that may
there,
have
Claire.
been
I like
mentioned
that. I like that.
on a previous show at any possible on every previous show.
Has it been mentioned so many times it should be in the swear jar?
No.
Oh, can you
A
imagine?
Spectro Magic jar.
Spectro Magic jars.
special.
Just have a jar all of its own.
Just put a pound,
Like one of
pound
those,
in it, and we can give it to Disney to bring it back.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
We could have one of those, like the telethon thermometers where the money comes up.
Just give it a direct link to John's bank account.
I had a thought. What we need is a
There's a
Just
thought,
Giving page for Spectrum Magic.
Bring back Spectrum Magic. Save Spectrum. It's too late.
It's too late.
No, it can't be saved anymore, no.
But I think everyone who's.
Yeah.
I had people ask me, and actually I had someone ask me this just last week who, some friends who are going during half term and their child, I'm not going to say their names because their child doesn't know that they're going. And although they'll be there when this comes out, I'm super cautious. And they asked me, is it worth going to the Halloween party? And I did stop and think, because they haven't been before. And I was like, yes, it is absolutely worth going. And yes, it is worth the money. But I would wait and do it on your next trip. And she said to me, but we're only going once. And I was like, no, let's have that conversation first. No, I have to say that I think that I'm glad we didn't do it on our first trip, because I think it is something extra.
Yeah.
And I think some of these evening entertainment options are nice extras if you've already exhausted what you perceive to be the value in the parks. And, you know, I think we probably had been 15 or 18 times before we did any of the evening events.
Right, okay.
Because of the fact that you then go, okay, well, we've been to the Magic Kingdom in the evening and, you know, it's fine. Oh, we could do this new thing. So we've done Halloween parties several times. And then we've also done dessert parties. Back when it was Wishes.
Yeah.
And the Main Street Electrical Parade. And those dessert parties on Tomorrowland Terrace. Again, I think the value is there in terms of if you're clever and you can pick which one you do and make sure you get the right viewing space, not from the terrace. Don't do the one that you stand against the barrier.
Do the one with the Plaza Gardens.
Do the Plaza Gardens one where you get to go to the front-on viewing space where you're not going to get rammed. And I think that, you know, they've added value to those. I think they now do have alcohol at them, which they didn't do previously. Some of them, they do cheese and biscuits as well as desserts, which is a win.
I'm there.
So I think that, you know, things have moved on a little bit from when they were maybe 10 years ago and perhaps weren't the best value. I think they probably are. But then, you know, you've got to add up how much it is per, if you're going as a family, you know, you might go as 4, 6, 8 people if you're going in a big group, and suddenly you're adding another $120 $120 per person on top of what you've already spent. So again, the value is dependent on whether you can afford it. So and the experience is amazing, but if you're going to go away with a credit card bill that is unmanageable, then it's never going to be worth it.
In June,
and there is
we nearly went for the dessert party. We were in the park and had a panic attack because getting in the front from watching Happily Ever After, and it got so crowded. There was a lot of screaming, there was a lot of shouting, and it was uncomfortable. It was one of those things. But actually, then we thought about it. We just went round behind the castle. We went to Frontierland, and we watched from the bridge one of the best viewing places of to see Happily Ever After. Yes, you don't get projections, but the fireworks are incredible.
And I know that you're appalled by my lack of seeing of Happily Ever After, but that is exactly the reason why, because it's too crowded. There are too many people in a very small space, and I really, really find it massively anxiety provoking. And I can't see because I'm short. So
it's really weird because we did it 5 times on our last trip from the park, and it was amazing every time we went from a different place. But some of the time there was like hardly any people there waiting for Happily Ever After to start, where other times we've been there, it's like you go up there 3 hours before, people are there ready and waiting.
It's really hit and miss, and it's unpredictable, and you know, that's the thing that's the reason. I mean, I did see Enchantment, and that was uncomfortably busy. But I'm really glad I saw it. And I saw Wishes, but from a dessert party, so I didn't have that number of people to contend with. I think Walt Disney World is much better in terms of crowd control than Disneyland Paris. And I think that I've had some bad experiences where I've felt unsafe in both parks. And so it's not necessarily something that I choose to do, is stand in the middle of Main Street crowded. I know for some people that's amazing and they love the closeness of everybody's body heat on them.
Particularly when it's
for
cold.
Me, I would rather do exactly what Ben said. And I think there's warrant in saying that round the back of the park, when it's dark, there are so many cool things to see. You know, just looking at the scenery, you know, when you see the Haunted Mansion lit up in the dark, that's worth a trip round there, if nothing else.
Yeah,
definitely.
the time we skipped Happily Ever After, we went on Big Thunder Mountain, and I think
brilliant.
I filmed it. But we could see the fireworks while we were just going up the lift hill.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It really was.
So you don't have to be crammed in.
Yeah. And that raises an interesting point, that there are, of course, joys to being in the park after dark when you haven't paid extra for a special event. There's certain changes to the rides.
And also,
Yes.
I think
Yes.
there's changes to lighting as well.
Yeah.
And I know that we
That-
talked about my obsession with coloring many times. But I think also the theatrical lighting that they employ in the dark makes an enormous difference to the feel.
Yeah.
Just walking
Yes.
through Adventureland, Round by Pirates when it's dark is incredible because it's floor lit, rather than and hazy lighting. It feels amazing.
It's an experience going on a jungle cruise at night.
Yes.
And I know
It's
you
so
got-
different to what it is during
Yeah.
the day.
The mosquitoes are.
Gives it that more
It just
realistic
adds
feel.
to the ambience of the ride.
Yeah.
Right,
Are they not animatronic mosquitoes then?
They are. They're plastic. Yeah.
So we looked at Magic Kingdom. What about Epcot? What's Epcot like after dark?
There's more booze. That's for sure.
Well, depends.
Depends.
Where you're looking.
If you go during the day, there's still the same amount. So
There's more booze than Magic Kingdom at night, though.
yeah,
Do you know? I think it's a really interesting question, and I think we would probably say the same for all four parks.
Yeah.
Is the atmosphere changes when the lights go down, and
Yeah.
again, I go back to the lighting, I go back to the ambience, I go back to the general feeling of the area. Every one of those World Showcase pavilions
yeah,
feels different at night. Yeah, Morocco, my goodness,
Yeah.
that's an epic pavilion to see in the evening. France, when you
France
go down the
is
side,
When you go to Ratatouille, and it's
yeah.
so different.
Yeah.
And then you've got the skyliner going above your head. It's,
that's it. It's an amazing photo op.
Yeah.
Even the UK pavilion, the pub gets raucous and loud and steamy, and it feels a bit more like a normal pub.
yeah.
And I think you could say that across all four of the parks. You guys talk
Yeah.
about Pandora and how incredible it is when it's dark.
Yeah.
I still haven't had a proper experience of that yet.
Right. Okay.
No, we haven't either.
No.
And then you throw Galaxy's Edge into the mix.
Ooh,
Yes.
When it's dark. It's almost like a game of two halves, isn't it? It's like the daytime park and the nighttime park. They're really quite different.
Yeah.
And I think some of those things in Epcot, as you were saying, Peter,
There's one thing
the
that sticks
show-
out for me in Epcot, and that is is Spaceship Earth. How it's now
Yes.
lit up.
Yes.
And I think that creates
Beautiful.
it is amazing. And all the shows that they do in there every evening now. I'm so glad they kept that after the 50th.
Yes.
Is that something else along with your list of Happily Ever After, Claire, that needs to go on the list?
Do you know what it is? It's because every time we've been since they put that in, even when I was on my own.
Yeah.
So
You're the other
is it,
side
how
of the
many
park.
trips now? Is
or-
it 5 trips now since they put it in?
Yeah.
Been going in and out the International Gateway. Either to get an Uber
Yeah.
from the beach club
Okay.
or because I was going off somewhere
Yeah.
Yeah.
after the park or before that. I was coming in that way because parked there and
Yeah.
had breakfast or something. I've been in and out of the front entrance of Epcot once
Okay.
Yeah.
in 5 trips. And bearing in mind, in the summer we were there for 3 weeks. So that's just, and that that's just how it.
It's like you've got
that's
no
just how
excuse, Claire. You were there for 3 weeks.
This is the thing. And Morgan and I we went into Epcot on our own. We'd been off shopping, I think. We went into Epcot and we parked in the car park.
Yeah.
And that is the only time in the last 5 trips
Right.
that I have parked in the main car park of Epcot. Because every other time we've either had breakfast in Trattoria al Forno
Yeah.
or parked at the beach club and ballet, whatever it is. And quite often we will get an Uber to Epcot because we want to have a drink, and we'll get the Uber to one of the Crescent Lake resorts because it's
It makes
quicker and
sense.
easier. And so the front entrance area
It's
with
all
the-
lit up.
the
It's,
fountain, is something that I haven't had time
Yeah.
to sit and enjoy. I've breezed past, perhaps,
Okay.
but without any time to stop.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of hoping in a few weeks' time that I might be able to really have some time there. or even 20 minutes would be nice just to experience
We
it.
were quite lucky. We were staying at the Poly when we on our
So
trip
you were going to
back.
get the
So we
monorail.
got the
Okay,
monorail.
yeah.
So we walked that way,
Yeah.
and now the monorails are lit up as well. When you see them go around
Yes.
the park at
Oh, that's
night,
very cool.
and it had a special sort of colour scheme for 4th of July.
Right.
Awesome.
I remember the
Superb.
first time we went, and it's the only time it's happened that we've been. They turned Spaceship Earth into Mike Wazowski.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember. Didn't they
That
do
was-
Death
yeah.
Star as well?
I think they
Yeah.
did.
They
Yeah,
did.
yeah, they did.
And
yeah.
they also had a horrible wand and hand, Mickey hand, for 2000,
Yeah, but we like to forget
which I
that.
remember.
But now they've got it right. They've got
Yeah.
lights. They've
Yeah.
had Rainbow Connection. It all things.
Yeah.
that
They've
each
done really well with
festival.
it. Yeah.
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 Can I just pick
and
up
it does
on
look
that?
beautiful when you watch across
Oh,
the
yeah.
lagoon.
Yes.
Spaceship
It
Earth
does,
looks
yeah.
It just
utterly gorgeous.
yeah.
Yeah.
Can I pick up again?
Especially
just
now
on
they've got the
that whole
tacos
thing?
out of the way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
too right. Can I pick up on that whole thing though about certainly with the Magic Kingdom and certainly when you get to Epcot, that sort of dusk time of day just becomes just such a beautiful time to just sit and take a moment within your day just to absorb what's happening. And it's like those who came in for rope drop generally are on the way out. They've got the evening crowd coming back in, but just watch, because actually within the space of about half an hour, you go from big sunshine, and then next thing you know, it's dark, and that's just like
Yeah.
you can go into the shop and then come back out and it's dark, and it's just like, whoa,
Yeah.
someone's just switched the lights out, and
That magical
and
Orlando sunset.
yeah. But
It lasts 5 minutes and it's gone.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I have seen it beautifully take 15 minutes when I've been at the boathouse and you're looking across the
Yes,
lake
okay.
at Disney Street. I've seen it once and it was stunning. The rest of the time, it really is like someone goes in and just turns out the switch.
But
Come out and
the
go,
worst
"Oh!"
one is if you're on the people mover. You go in, you go out the tunnel, it's dark.
And it's still dark. What happened?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh no. But
What
so
happened? I don't understand why it happened so quickly.
it's great, and it is such a wonderful.
Because you're not focused
experience.
on it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's been.
Yeah.
Well,
But the park changes, and it's just instantaneous. It's just like you're there, and
yes.
the atmosphere changes. And to my dying day, I don't think I could ever explain it, because you stood there. It's the same. You could be in the same position, and it's suddenly a completely different feeling. And it might be that I've been in since rope drop and I'm a bit tired and stuff like that. But generally, it gets to the stage where you get that extra adrenaline buzz to take you right through
Yeah.
the park closing, and it's beautiful. Really is.
The alcohol kicks in.
No,
No.
do you know what?
No,
John,
no,
I don't know
no.
if you've...
You get that
Have
second
you
wind.
noticed that it sounds like the music
Yeah.
volume goes up
Yeah.
when the lights go down?
Yeah.
Yes.
For me, I always sit there and go, oh,
Yes.
the background
And it's all
music in the
it's
pavilions
also
in Watch
deliberate,
Showcase or-
isn't it? It's so deliberate.
Yeah.
And
And
yet,
I don't know whether it does or whether it's just that
I think your senses
the
become
light isn't then
yeah,
playing.
your senses
Yeah.
start
Yeah,
playing
so
tricks
is it
on you.
just that...
Yeah.
I
And
wonder if the
it's
soundtrack's any
incredible.
different. I wonder if there's any sort of differences whether
So
they
there's
have
the
a nice...
pre-show soundtrack in Epcot, isn't it? There's the
Yeah.
bit that they play for like 45 minutes
Yeah.
prior to what will be, was it Luminous? Luminous?
Yep.
Yeah.
Luminous. Yeah.
Is that, have I got it right
Yeah,
there?
Luminous.
Luminous.
Yeah.
Or Luminous. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It's-
It sounds a bit too Harry Potter for me with Lumos, but
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or Illuminous.
Illuminous.
Or whatever, yeah, whatever it
anything
might
that's it's a
be.
bit like Illuminations crossed with Harmonious.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because Harmony Nations wouldn't fit on the postcard. So yeah.
As long as there's no tacos
Exactly.
in the lake,
Yeah.
it's all
There
good.
could be
Just in the
tacos
Mexican
around
pavilion.
in like pavilions, but not in
Yes.
the lake.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
One thing that we
Exactly.
did last time at Epcot was we were right at the back of the lagoon. I think we were about near Japan. And we were thinking about making our way out of the park and going back to our resort. And suddenly I thought, look, my feet are tired. I'm tired. I really cannot face schlepping all the way to the front of the park with everybody else. Why don't we nip out, grab a Skyliner, go to Hollywood Studios just to go to the bus. Literally.
Oh, it's quicker.
Yeah, we went to Hollywood Studios. It was a lovely, quiet, gentle ride. Beautiful views in the dark with all the lights. And we just jumped off at Hollywood Studios and got straight on a bus.
Talking of Hollywood Studios, now that Fantastic's back, Fantasmic is...
I know it's
even
fantastic.
It is brilliant. Now that Fantasmic's back... there is more reason than there was to stay late at Hollywood Studios. So what about Hollywood Studios, guys?
Yeah. I think we're all Fantasmic fans.
Oh, yeah.
I'm still singing it in my head.
Too
Yes,
right.
absolutely.
I've just got this image of
And I
was
will be
it,
for, like,
was
the
it
next 3
Dopey
weeks.
or Goofy that fell off the boat or off the ship?
Dopey.
Dopey.
Oh,
yeah.
But landed on Goofy.
I mean, that's
just so
Steamboat
goofy.
Willie moment is
It wasn't one of the best
Steamboat
moments
Willie
ever.
moment.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
That's the bit where Morgan absolutely loses his mind.
Yeah.
We've seen
Yeah.
Fantasmic now 4 or 5 times with Morgan and Willie, and when the Steamboat Willie character comes round the corner, it's like that is. And why have they not got him as a meet and greet around the park? 100 years Disney. Just saying.
Come on,
Yeah.
Steamboat
Get
Willie.
Steamboat Willie
Yeah.
in the back of
Just a one man's dream.
one man's
Yeah.
dream. Take Moana away.
Yeah.
Steamboat Willie. Yeah.
Perfect.
It's Little Mermaid in Ariel in there
Or-
now, I think.
Is it?
Yeah, from the live action.
Or at least Oswald and Hortensia, Steamboat Willie.
Nice.
Yeah.
Rotate them round.
What you could do is you could probably have a meet and greet towards like where Mickey and Minnie's just in the centre part of the park. I don't know, there's just
Such
so many...
an opportunity missed. The characters there. They've got the kit.
Yeah.
Maybe if they just get rid of Olaf. Take Olaf out.
Oh yeah.
Don't have meet and greet.
I don't.
Yeah.
Do you know what though, Ben? They must have had these. We're having these conversations. They must have had these conversations. The Imagineers for Hollywood Studios must have gone. What we need to do for the 100 years is to really try and celebrate that. What's the history?
Yeah.
Well, it's not Olaf, is it? Let's face it.
No.
What's the able to do something better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I think so.
I think
This,
my favourite thing about Hollywood Studios at night is the Terror Terror.
Yes.
too right.
Screams. You're
Yeah.
walking up to go to Fantasmic and all you can hear is screams coming from the tower.
And I just love the way that it's lit. I just think it makes it even more creepy. It's wonderful.
Yeah. I remember doing that on our last trip and there was at night. It was like, it was towards the end. It was during the after hours, Disney's Hollywood Studios after hours event, which we paid extra for, which was for 3 hours. So we stayed in there in the park till 1 a.m. Just to stay, and we did Tower literally as a minute before park close, and there wasn't many people in the queue. It was really, really good, and that ride really does change when you do it at night. With
Yes.
less people in there than normal.
To actually ride it at night, though, when you get to the top, as you're looking out, it is such a different outlook. As everything's lit, everything's just. Your eyes are completely used to it. So during the day, you get to the top of the ride, and your eyes are kind of burning when you get that sunlight on you. At night time, it's not quite so bad. But for me, in the studios in particular, it's always going to be Fantasmic. I think it shows what you do if you invest in nighttime entertainment. I won't mention go back to other parks, but it's that again. It's that coming together as a group of people, and I think that for me is one of the key parts of this. It's where the Christmas parade and the Halloween parade within Magic Kingdom work. You get to meet some amazing people, just like you do before Fantasmic, and you can sit. You're sitting there for however long you get in before the show, and we are very much
Usually half an hour.
We're in good and early for it, and it's actually you get such a cracking chat with people, and you get to, and that to me that's what being in Disney parks is about. It's not about just the me scenario. It's about meeting fellow-minded people who have enjoyed an amazing day in the park, or have come into the park for the evening just for the nighttime show, because we've done it that way as well. And that for me is the best bit about nighttime. It's enjoying the lighting, it's enjoying the sounds, but it's meeting people as well. You never forget.
I think what they've
people
done
in
with
it.
Phantasmic, where they've added in the characters of Moana, Elsa, there's just so much stuff that I think that by removing, where they had the scene with Pocahontas in that section, they've removed that, and I just think it's really good. And I love, like you said, John, about the pre-show. I think it has the best pre-show soundtrack of any nighttime entertainment. It's brilliant. And then you have the crowd doing the Mexican wave.
The crowd do it themselves. You know.
Yes. Have they brought back the CMs doing warm-ups? People...
CMs.
Yes, cast members.
Caught you.
Well done.
There we go.
That's the sound of the siren.
Indeed.
we can sound loop that for future reference. Yes, we can use that. Do you know what, Ben? I'll let you have that. I won't use copyright on that. I've been practicing that for weeks.
So back in the day, they used to have some cast members would come to the front and they would do quizzes and get people up out of the crowd and do silly things with them and get everybody doing Mexican waves and so on. When we went in November, that wasn't there, so the crowd were doing their own waves.
I think it's tradition now with Phantasmic. It just happens.
It was really funny when we were there in the summer because Millie had never seen a Mexican wave.
Okay.
It's not something that as a 10-year-old you would ever experience because she's not been to a rugby match or anything like that. And she was in hysterics because this thing went from one end to the other and backwards and forwards. It must have done like 15, 20 times in a row. And just when you thought they were going to, and it was so funny watching her and Morgan joining in and just laughing at watching everyone else doing it. And it was like, this is... Because the first time we went to Phantasmic, that didn't happen. There wasn't any Mexican wave.
Okay.
This time, it was like
brilliant.
Everyone was full on, absolutely in it, and it was
fab.
Was brilliant.
It is so good.
There's nobody entertaining, but the crowd just do it
crowd
themselves because they know what needs to be done.
There's one downside, and I've always the last 2 times we've watched Phantasmic, we've experienced this both, and unfortunately, this is more of a guest issue more than it is. It's people tend to leave about 5 minutes before the show ends. Ooh. So they stand up and they start walking back, and you can't see. And then people stand up in front of you, and you can't see the Steamboat Willie and the boat, everything going round because people are standing up in your way. And I just think some people have been there for the first time. This is the first time seeing that show.
Yeah, too right.
I just think people need to just take that extra
sit down
moment and just wait till it's over. Yeah. No, but people do leave, but if they've seen it before, just because they want to be the first out and not be in that queue, which I know I can understand. But do you know what? If you want to wait
10 minutes to walk out.
Yeah, there's no real queue to get out. I mean, yes, it's quite a long walk, but you're all kind of walking at a uniform pace.
I suffer from crowd anxiety, and sometimes I prefer to wait about 5-10 minutes till everyone's gone, and then I'll leave. I won't leave during the show and disrupt other people's view.
So thinking of Hollywood studios,
isn't it?
It is.
Thinking of Hollywood studios, if John can have his glorious 3-hour salute to Spectra Magic, I am going to have one for the Osborne family of dancing lights.
Yeah,
absolutely.
All right,
I forgot about those.
Yeah,
much missed.
That for me was the best thing ever to happen after dark in Hollywood studios. It was the reason that I started reading up on going to Walt Disney World in the first place. And it was absolutely magical. And I understand the reason why they got rid of it, but I really do wish that they would find somewhere else to do it.
Yeah.
But we'll have to wait and see what Jollywood Nights is like. Yeah.
So, 47 days from the point of recording. I should be going to Jollywood Nights. Ooh. And I am so unbelievably excited. I think
I'm jealous.
There's so many things I'm doing on my next
I'm very
trip
jealous
that are firsts,
Yeah.
including Happily Ever After, just saying. Dapper Days. Mm-hmm. But Jollywood Nights is something that Anna and I decided we had the choice of that or the Christmas party. And because Jollywood Nights is so unique, I cannot wait. And a part of me wants to film it all so we can use it, but I don't want to ruin it by spending all the time filming it. So I'll try and do a bit of stuff.
Claire, if I lend you my GoPro, you can sort of strap it to your head. So I actually get around.
That's not going to happen. I will take my gimbal that day and we will do some filming. Just the thought of the Brown Derby turning into a speakeasy and jazz bar.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's where we're going to be.
Isn't there a meet and greet for Phineas and Ferb?
There is a Christmas Phineas and Ferb meet and greet, which is on the list because Anna loves them just as much as I do. And this is so. I don't know how we're going to cram it all in. It's a bit like Halloween party. There's so many different things going on. It's like, what do you prioritise?
Yeah.
And the music around Echo Lake at Christmas is I think Hollywood Studios around the festive period has the best music, and certainly last year I remember cooking Christmas dinner and just having the Echo Lake Christmas loop on a loop, just like repeated over and over, because it's just the most amazing music. And Gertie's got a Christmas hat on and all of those things.
The baubles in the lake.
Yeah. I just love it. Yeah. And so, and Hollywood Studios is not my favourite park, but when it comes to the
Christmas.
nighttime Christmas vibe, it changes so much. And I've had a really great time, and I cannot wait this year to see what it's like.
I'm not envious at all. Not a bit at all.
No, I wasn't hyping it up just to wind you up. It's going to be great.
Which I guess takes us on to Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
Animal Kingdom.
Now we're talking.
In the dark.
Yeah.
Oh.
And go on, John.
And actually, that's a park where a lot of people kind of forget that when it was originally opened, everyone said it was a half-day park. It shut at 5 o'clock at night, even in the middle of summer, and it never saw the nighttime, for guests. And it's only really been in recent years that they've done it. But on the back of Pandora opening, being able to ride Everest in the dark is just one of the most amazing things to experience. But that walk into Pandora is something really to behold. And again, just as you go in the way that they've actually gone about the actual Imagineering, I think we've spoken about this on a Wednesday show, about Joe Rohde's absolutely incredible vision for what he wanted the land to look like. And you pick up on that. And Claire, I will mention the concrete before you do, because the concrete itself is just a sight to behold. But when you get in there, what you've seen in the daytime, you would think it was a completely different place. You take photographs of the same things of an evening. It's just totally different, and it is amazing. You've got to go and do it. You've got to go and see it. It is just the most amazing bit of nighttime magic in a way, because what they've done is they've thought about what they want it to look like when you're taking pictures of it in the daytime, but also when you're taking pictures of it at night, and to be able to marry the two of them together is very, very clever. It's just.
I will admit to getting lost in Pandora at night.
Yeah,
it's so different.
It's really dark though.
It's reasonably easy to get lost in Pandora in the daytime, let alone at night. But
that's half the fun.
It is, absolutely.
But also doing Ride and Flight of Passage when you go through the standby queue, because one of the best things to do when the park's closing is to jump in the queue, because you're going to be one of the last people on that ride and one of the last people out into the park where it's empty. We did it in 2020. Yeah, it must have been last year, June 2022. And we got the park closed at 10 o'clock, which was late for Animal Kingdom. We were in the queue at 5 to 10. We got out. We were off the ride by 11:15, and we spent the next 45 minutes just in Pandora.
Right.
And gradually security was walking us towards the exit. But it was like there was no one around. It was just the sounds that you wouldn't have heard during the day because there's so many people around. It was so different.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because actually, going back to that same point about how it's changed into an evening park, even when they had Rivers of Light of an evening as a nighttime show, at the same time you had the Tree of Life Awakens and the projection show onto the Tree of Life, which if you didn't go and watch Rivers of Light, you could stand for absolutely hour upon hour and just watching this. It was absolutely magical. Of one, how they could turn the Tree of Life into basically a cinemascope, and then secondly, just the amount of detail that they actually got into it. And again, just another bit of magic where you previously thought, well, there you go, big tree, they're just going to put a big white light on it, and it's just going to, it's just going to be lit up, a bit like a Christmas tree. But they've not. They went to that extra level, and the detail that you could actually see within that was superb. And
they did a Christmas version of that as well when we were out before.
Yeah.
And now they've got the Zootopia or Zootropolis show is going to be on that, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, right, okay.
It'd be good. It'd be good. And even previously, Ben, I think in a previous incarnation of it, there was still bits of Zootopia and Zootopolis within what you were seeing as well. So I'm not expecting it to come back and be that much different. But what I'm hoping for is just to give it a little bit more publicity, because I think a lot of people didn't know exactly when the actual show itself was on. And so if you got caught and you were coming out of Rivers of Light, or you were in, like yourself, would be in the queue for Pandora, you come out and someone would talk about it maybe on the bus back to resort, and you're thinking, hang on, I've missed something. And people just weren't aware of exactly what was actually happening. It's absolutely brilliant, but it's one of those things that people miss. A little bit like when you get to Magic Kingdom and someone says, oh, I saw the Kiss Goodnight. And people are like, well, what is the Kiss Goodnight? And it's like, oh, you don't know. And it's just suddenly, you should stay half an hour after park closing, stay there. And you see there's another little show on the castle. It's those little things, those little bits of magic that become part and parcel of your holiday. And you, like I said before in this show, it's the things like that that stay with you and they remain in your memory until your next trip.
I think in Animal Kingdom, there was also, they did do the Harambe party nights, which were, based in that Harambe marketplace with loads of entertainment, and they were extra ticketed events. They did them, I think it was pre-COVID, for maybe 2 summers.
Nice.
I think with food and drinks, and the band were playing, and there was loads of events. And I think that looks like that was such a great idea, because that area, when the lights, when the light goes, the Africa section tends to be fairly desolate.
Yes.
Because they don't really have the evening safari anymore. You're not going to be going up to Rafiki's Planet Watch after 4:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And unless you're scooting that way through from Pandora to go to ride Everest in the dark, just saying, or to get a view of the back of the Tree of Life, you're probably not going to be around the Africa area. And I think, again, the theming around there is so special. Yeah. And when it's dark, I think it's, that whole use of that area was really clever. Yeah. And it could almost be sectioned off as I think they do some private parties and stuff like that. But,
I wonder if that's open during the Animal Kingdom after hours.
I don't know.
Because I know they do that. They do all foot parks now have the 3-hour after hours options. It's one of those things, as with Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party and the Halloween party, it is a extra ticket event, and it's one of those things, I would say, from our experience when we did Hollywood Studios, it's not more geared to you being in the park late at night, it's more to, can I get all these attractions done in 3 hours? There is other entertainment that they add on, there is food, there are snacks, it has many ice creams and popcorn you can get, but it's one of those things, it just depends whether you want to be in the park late at night. We were there till 1 a.m. So it's a totally different experience.
Wow.
I think it depends if you're a morning person or an evening person. Yeah. And clearly I'm a early morning girl, generally on a day-to-day basis, but I'm particularly when we're there, I'm very much an early morning, be in the park by 7:30.
You're a rope drop, not fireworks.
Yeah, and I just I feel like I'm missing out a little bit.
Oh,
So this
you are.
discussion's making me question my life choices.
This is where you become rope shot to fireworks.
Yeah, well, I think the next trip it might be a bit like that. But,
But that fits
when you
in
don't have kids
perfectly,
with
though,
you,
Claire.
it's a bit easier.
It fits in perfectly because actually we were there the first summer that they did. They tried to do the Kilimanjaro safaris as a twilight hours into dark. Now, somebody somewhere hadn't actually thought that when it goes dark, you actually can't see the animals. And so, you were sat going round, and you're really straining your eyes,
Looking at the
just
rocks.
trying. Is it moving? Is it moving? And all the animals had shipped out of the parks, and they'd had it for the day. They're like you. They get up early morning to go and get fed and things like that. You know,
They're back in the barn.
yeah,
They're laughing
they
at all these trucks.
They
going
weren't for
around.
staying around for night time. Nobody told them about that. You know.
Do you think they did have training for training the drivers?
Yes.
Yeah,
Just we've got to keep
possibly,
them out
yeah.
an extra couple
Yeah.
of hours.
Yeah.
You can't see anything,
Yeah.
but they need to learn the script. They need to learn.
Absolutely. It's funny because when we were there in the summer, we asked about which animals don't ever go in the barns.
Yeah.
Particularly if there's things like hurricanes and stuff. And they were saying that some of the I think they're the eland antelope
Okay.
and the wildebeest. They never go back in the barns because they're so skittish that if they're, particularly the wildebeest, if they're going to charge you, if they're going to have a bit of a moment where it's a bit loud and they get a bit frightened and they run, it's better that they're out on the savannah and they run
And they've got more room to move. They've got
in a barn and they run.
Yeah.
There's less risk of injury.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And I think the painted dogs as well
Okay.
don't go inside because they're feisty. So
Yeah.
it's quite an interesting conversation because there's an incoming hurricane when we were there, and they were saying, which animals will you leave out? They were like, well, actually, there are some we will. But they're fine. You know,
Which one
they're
draws
used
the
to
short
it.
straw?
Yeah, they are used to it. It's okay. They're safe. Shall I say.
Claire, I initially thought
yeah.
you said that animals were going back to the bar.
No, that's
That's humans.
that's back to Epcot.
Yes, that's true.
And they do behave like animals.
Especially on a Saturday night.
Particularly, I was going to say, particularly on a Saturday night in the summer. During food and wine.
They're either there or
it gets
Disney
messy.
Springs. So
Oh, it gets messy.
There are a
Disney
couple of-
Springs at night is really nice.
It is, yes. It's very
yeah,
nice. Yes.
Again, I think it feels like the music is louder.
Yes.
I don't know
Yes.
why. I think it is a sensory
I think it is at the
thing that
Springs, though.
maybe the light.
Yeah.
And the lighting on the waterway that runs through.
Yes.
You know, the bit
Yeah.
that goes up the side of
Oh yeah.
Homecoming and
Yes.
that whole
Oh, that's
waterway that runs
beautiful.
through is just every time I've been there I've gone, I would just like to be in that water.
Yeah.
I'd quite like just to wade in it. Can someone just bring me a drink and I'll sit down there? I don't mind if
I love getting Blaze Pizza or Deluxe Burger and just sitting,
and
having
sitting
a
outside
profile
by
of
that water.
Yeah.
Right. And don't you sit there going, that water looks so clean and
Yeah.
so cool, and I bet it's full of chemicals, but it looks pretty.
Yes.
Yeah.
It makes you want to be there. And
And again,
I do think that Disney Springs at night is quite a different vibe. It does feel,
Yes.
particularly at weekends, it does feel a bit more grown up. Not quite to the Pleasure Island end of things.
No.
But certainly, you know, if you were to go and sit at Homecoming at the bar or at Jock's or even the, Dockside Bar at the Boathouse, it's not that it's not child friendly. It just feels more
Yeah.
like the scales have tipped towards adult friendly.
Yeah.
That sounds awful. It didn't mean it like that.
I know what you mean.
That's not Disney. That's Universal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't mean adult friendly.
It's aimed at grown-ups.
Yeah.
Thank you for saving that.
I
I'm
always
still going to
find-
leave that in.
I always find that I spend more money at night at Disney Springs than I do in the daytime. For some reason, I think I'm just suckered by the pretty lights, and I just
The thing is, you can't see your credit card coming out of your wallet. It's just like the
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So, yeah.
for me, coming in on the boat from Port Orleans French Quarter and seeing all the lights again. It's just absolutely beautiful. And yes, we went to Jock Lindsay's and we went to Wine Bar George. And yes, they are beautiful from the outside as well with all the lights on.
Did you sit in the boat at Jock Lindsay's?
No, we didn't. But
that's fun.
Yeah, but it's a lovely place. We did actually bump into some people we knew. But that was a bizarre
That we hadn't
experience.
planned to meet.
Yes,
But yes.
We didn't even know we're going to be in Orlando at the time. But,
good.
It's
You always meet someone, you know.
Yeah.
I don't think I've been there once and not seen someone.
No.
We bumped into some people from work once. We were walking around World Showcase. No, we were walking around World Showcase. There were a couple of doctors that we work with who were there with their wives, and the wives had gone back to the hotel, and these two consultants that we work with were in Hawaiian shirts sitting at a high-top table in Italy and had clearly had a good time getting around that far. And
So they definitely started in
remember-
Mexico then.
I think they might have started in, I don't know, actual Mexico. They had a fair few beverages, and it was hysterical. And we still laugh about it now with them. That, you know, they were there, and these two middle-aged men were just enjoying their afternoon in Epcot.
It's amazing. On our Wild Africa trek, we there was a mother and son, and they were from the same town we're from.
wow.
So we travelled
amazing.
all that way, 4,500
This is it.
miles, and booked the exact same tour.
Always
on that
find
trip.
someone you know.
Yeah. Yep. Phew,
It's definitely a small world.
Oh, well done.
Yeah. Ben.
No apologies for having that song stuck in your head now.
That's all right. Ben. Phew, what a busy episode. And that's not all. Out there in social media land, there's a whole plethora of waffle goodness. So why not check out our previous podcasts on your platform of choice and keep an eye out for all the fun yet to come. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you don't want to miss our upcoming episodes, be sure to keep an eye out. And in the meantime, you can join us on our Facebook community, the Wafflers Arms, to chat about trips past and present and future, as well as park news and a load of other random Disney waffling. And now, I think it's time we hit the hay. Thanks for listening, and there's only one thing left to say. Waffle on!
Waffle on.
What fun.
Christmas is coming.